Ladies and temporary gentlemen, drink up your tap water, eat the bugs, and take a deep breath of those chemtrails. It's time for Super Despair World. This is the only real show left on the internet. The others have all been assimilated into big podcasts to sell Funko Pops or something like that. We've got a fun show for you today. Before we pop off, though, I just wanted to give a little update on the show. As we've mentioned before, we're working on getting the podcast onto other platforms. We're still only on YouTube right now if you're listening as soon as this goes up. We were looking into Spotify and some other places like that. Dave, maybe you could give a summary because you were mostly in charge of that.
Yeah, Spotify fucking sucks, and I tried to test it out a little bit, and it kept failing, so we're not doing that shit. Fuck Spotify. It will be on Spotify, but we're not using Spotify to upload it. We got some other shit in the works. It's all going to be really Gucci, and stay tuned. We're going to have all of that stuff, and our website, and all of the other cool accoutrements that are going to make us seem very, very professional. By episode 10. That's the goal here, and we're sticking to it, goddammit.
Yeah, I actually forgot to tell you this in DMs, but I actually gave Spotify a call. I called their support number to try to solve the problem that we had with it.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Yeah, I gave them a call and I tried to explain the problem, but I only made it halfway through introducing myself before the person on the other end told me, "We don't serve your kind," and then they hung up. So,
oh, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. So, fuck Spotify. We don't stand with their values, apparently.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, in 2023, imagine, abhorrent.
2024, you mean?
Oh, shit,
the show,
you're right.
If you're listening to this in the year that it came out.
Comment if you're still listening to this in 2024.
Exactly. All right, so let's get right into it today. So on this show, we talk a lot about our gripes with goofy things on the internet, how maybe sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming, how bad social media and just being online at all has gotten. And in the past, we've tried to put words to this. One of the terms we used before was enshittification, this process by which social media sites or just online services in general, so including Discord or other apps that you use, how they'll come out, they fill a purpose, and they're great at it, but then they become very big, and then they just get worse and shitty over time, and that's enshittification.
I think a lot of this comes from this current business model of VC money going into making a free and cool service that goes on until they run out of money, and then it's just oh shit, we need to start monetizing this immediately. So what do? Oh, just make it really, really shitty. And we're definitely seeing that. We're kind of in the end stages of that with a lot of social media and just platforms and apps and stuff like that in general. We really got sold on this is the new wave of all sorts of things, and the tech sector has come to take care of things like deliveries and driving cars and stuff like that. And now it's it's all shit.
Yeah, it really sucks, and I would blame most of it on VC money. If you ask me, that is the original sin of the internet. It's why everything is basically a glorified strip mall nowadays. Too many people have just signed the Demon Blood Pact for quick views and making the number go up. And it I guess it's paid off for a lot of people, but things suck ass.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
Enshittification.
Right. And we saw this with the .com bubble of the late 90s. And I think it's kind of happening again in a different iteration, but it's basically the same type of thing.
Yeah, the internet is bound to inevitably be crushed by its myriad sins under that weight. But today we're talking about a different term, and we're gonna get a little contentious with it. Maybe we can call this our measured response to a term called the dead internet theory. Maybe you've heard this before.
Yes, of course. We all have, haven't we?
I mean, if you're listening to this show, you probably have. You're a bit of a weirdo. You've spent too much time online, but we'll get into it. So maybe we can start off because we're here today. I think we're gonna debunk what is really going on versus how people use this word. So maybe to start us off, Dave, when people say the words dead internet theory, what are most people talking about? How do people use this phrase?
So it's hard for me to say because I do know what it actually means, but I think when they talk about the dead internet theory, it's mostly just the idea that most of the stuff on the internet is not organically created, and it's just bots talking to bots and content aggregation sites being looked at by other content aggregation things and bots and stuff. Like, it all comes down to bots at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a real sentiment, and I think there's truth in it, that the internet, at least like 10, 15, 20, whatever number you want to put it, however many years ago, it was fueled by real people making real things, just like for the love of the game. There's like a genuine kind of like down to earth quality to it. You could go on there and you could see like a weird, sometimes cool, maybe sometimes like amazing or very interesting stuff. It was made by real people. And nowadays it doesn't feel like that. It feels like when you go onto Google, all the search results are just like bullshit sites trying to sell you t-shirts written by like an algorithm, or like you go into comment sections and like you see a lot of posts, but none of them are like really interacting with each other, or it doesn't feel like they're made by real people. Or maybe you see a video and it's like, this Minecraft YouTuber has 9 million views and like, or like 30 million subscribers, and you've never heard of this person. Like, where are all these like entire countries worth of people who are this person's fan? And it's weird. It feels overwhelming. It feels I'm guilty of using this term myself. I've used the phrase dead internet theory as early as like a couple days ago, until we did a little digging and we learned better.
Yeah, the actual origin of this theory is not where you think it would come from, I think.
Yeah, so prior to this episode, but after you showed me the actual origin of it, as usual, I did my due diligence. I did my research for the podcast, which is to say, I entered our topic into YouTube and I watched like 3 of the top videos.
I actually didn't watch any YouTube videos about this. I wanted to stay OG and just read the original origin post of this, which is very, very eye-opening in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, you definitely made the right call, because all of those videos were complete dog shit. So we're going to talk about where the dead internet theory comes from. And maybe you've seen this coming, maybe you didn't. This was originally from a 4chan post on I want to say the X board, which is like their weird conspiracy, like creepypasta, but like kind of edgy channel or whatever.
Yeah.
And we found a copy, an archive of this post, and we're gonna go over it today.
Yeah. So this, I'm pretty sure you're right. I think it was an X post. And this was, the post was aggregated on this site called Agora Road. And this is, I think, the place that it's all put together on, and it's incredibly bizarre.
Yeah, certainly. So before we get into it, I want to say that the main reason we wanted to go over this today is because, one, this is a term I've just used out of nowhere. I didn't really know the origins of it. And from watching a lot of the popular YouTube videos on it, I think a lot of people who use the term and who have looked into it, they leave out certain things. If you look for stuff on the dead internet theory across the internet, a lot of people will say, yes, this came from like a 4chan post, or maybe it was like something about like a site called WizardChan. I don't even know what that is. Okay, I'm not virginal enough to be familiar with this stuff. But regardless, you see these people on YouTube and they're like, yeah, it's this 4chan post and I'm going to talk about it like it's a big serious thing when it's not. It kind of reminds me of, maybe you've heard, Dave, have you heard the term Rocco's Basilisk?
Yes, but what is that?
Yeah, that was like this internet thing about this tech guy who created some like hypothetical. It was like a thought experiment or whatever.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna bastardize it a bit, even though it's already pretty fucking dumb. Where it was like, okay, let's say that there's some like sentient AI in the future that's going to like kill everybody who didn't explicitly try to bring it into creation. So now that you've thought about it, you have to do that, or else it'll put you in like cyborg hell or some shit.
Okay, yeah.
And a lot of people, like a lot of these very serious, like creepypasta, like dark internet stuff YouTubers are like, whoa, that's crazy, dude. Like, whoa, like, oh, just like taking another hit off the bong before they like theorize on this between episodes of Joe Rogan. And it's stupid because people take this thing seriously and they don't realize that, oh, okay, it's called Rocco's Basilisk. And it's like this Rocco guy, he's just some like dipshit, like Elon Musk dick riding like tech guy with a Twitter account who's not done anything like significant. Like, who gives a shit about this person's opinion?
Right. And I do still know some people that are like that, like thank Siri or Alexa, and they're like, you never know, someday the singularity might rise up and try to enslave us all, and they'll it's like the people who are like, hey, be nice to the weird guy that has tech decks and wears trench coats to high school, because when he eventually does a school shooting, he'll spare your life if you like give him a high five once in a while.
Well, I'm pretty sure I talked just a few episodes ago about how I was nice to that person in my art class in high school. And, I'm still here making a podcast, so
exactly.
Don't knock it till you've tried it.
No, it's a good idea. I mean, why not?
Yeah, but I brought up the example of Rocco's Basilisk, which is to say, be careful about the origins of things you just espouse, like I have with Dead Internet Theory, because we've looked into it, and this guy sucks. This guy's a dipshit. We're not going to be nice. Maybe we'll save someone else to do a proper, measured response. This is going to be an unhinged, vengeful response, because this is dumb as hell.
Yeah, so before we get into it, I think the main takeaway from this guy is the observations he makes are somewhat valid. They're pretty valid in a lot of avenues, but the conclusions he makes on all of these observations are complete fucking nonsense. Like, this dude definitely needs to step away from the computer, definitely get off 4chan. I mean, most people should do that, but yeah, the conclusions he draws, as we're about to see, are incredibly bizarre and mostly incorrect.
I think he needs to take the anime middle schooler girl's hand through the portal between the rope in his room and just get out of here, if you ask me. But all right, no, I'm not going to be that vengeful. We did mention where we found this post, or at least an archive of it. It's some like dipshit like 4chan internet forum, whatever. Yes. We'll do the minimum due diligence. Well, if that's even the term, we're not going to say this guy's name. I don't think we need to. It's something stupid anyway. It's not a slur or whatever. But let's get into it. So I've got a bunch of excerpts of the clip of the post before me here.
Yes.
And let's get into it. So to start off, this guy introduces himself as somebody who's been on 4chan since 2006. And this post dates back to just about 3 years ago in January of 2021. So this person is in their 30s. They've been on 4chan like basically since they were a teenager, and it covers basically all of the stuff that entails. And so within the first paragraph, one of the things they say is, I was among the first right-wingers who were such before it was cool. So it was at that point I knew, like, okay, we don't need to take anything this person says seriously.
Yeah, it's right out of the gate. Just so proud to be an idiot.
Yeah, so he boasts about being on 4chan for basically his entire life, and especially the Pol channel, which is like, I think it started as like some containment board for Nazis or whatever, but then it was just full of like actual Nazis or something. Yeah, and the phrase he uses here is but rather than saying these things out of masturbatory pleasure, I wish to stress that I've acquired a set of observational skills, which other genuine old fags share.
Tips Fedora.
Yeah, it's rough. So later on, he goes on to explain that the internet feels like it's devoid of people, it's devoid of content compared to like 2007. Where people were like making genuine things, where there was stuff to discover. And I kind of want to like, this is kind of bullshit, right? Because obviously the internet today is definitely made up of like a few like big social media giants or something.
Right.
But there's definitely still places you can go to discover like new interesting stuff.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, this is not some conspiracy. It's because social media became the forefront of the internet. Kind of like in the 90s, it was portals. It was AOL and Alta Vista and
it was like
Lycos.
MSN.com.
Yeah, and MSN and shit like that. So it's a little bit different now, but there was always this push from large companies to try to make themselves the start page of the internet.
I mean, that's basically how Google got big and came to the forefront, because like they popularized the search engine, and that it was like, rather than having a portal that just shows you a handful of like curated things, it's like, oh, you can just look for whatever you want and it'll show you anything that has that word in it.
Oh man, I miss when Google was actually useful, and now
I miss when you could search for something and find it.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And yeah, I was bitching about this today. It's just, the fall of Google is so sad.
Yeah, it's rough. And I'm bringing this up now because this is kind of a running theme throughout the Dead Internet Theory post, which is this guy makes a lot of observations, and literally none of them have like anything to do with like economics or like the business incentives, or how this is all just like business as usual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he says here, some of this is absolutely the fault of corporations and government entities. However, it doesn't explain the following. And the first example he brings up is, I used to be in perpetual contact with a solid number of people across multiple sites, which is a very bizarre way of saying you had friends at some point.
Yeah, and now they've grown up and done something with their lives other than posting bullshit in 4chan thread or wherever this dude hangs out. I don't even know. But yeah, like, I don't know. I've been on the internet for a while, and I've had friends come and go, because usually, like, especially when it's a while ago, they tend to have actual lives that don't revolve around like shit posting on 4chan.
Yeah, for me, like, sometimes I'll just have a friend and they go from, oh, we talk like almost every day to like once a week to like once a month to like 3 or 4 times a year to we just don't talk at all anymore. You know, that's natural. It happens to everybody. You're not special.
Yeah, it's not even an internet thing either. That's just how friendships go as you grow up, generally.
Yeah, exactly. So he goes on to say, across the years, each and every one of them vanished without a trace. None of them were into Pol stuff or anything remotely questionable or controversial, yet they all simply vanished in a puff of smoke, no matter the site, no matter the communication platform. There was no goodbye or explanation. Buddy, you just got ghosted. People just don't want to hang out with you.
Yeah, you probably said the N-word like one too many times, and they were like, yeah, I gotta go, like, try to not be a virgin for the rest of my life. I think I gotta bail.
There's no self-awareness. Like, he opened this whole like Dead Internet Theory post with like all this stuff about how he's been on 4chan for all these years, and he's super plugged in and online onto all this like dumb right-wing conspiracy shit.
Right.
And now he's surprised that people don't want to hang out with him anymore. Exactly. They weren't into that stuff.
See, that's a thing, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but it's kind of like the same thing as like how incels operate, and it's like, oh, women don't want to talk to me. It's not me. It's not my beliefs. It's not my general demeanor. It's because society is broken, and hypergamy, and Stacy is riding Tyrone's cock carousel, and everything else is wrong. So it's kind of a microcosm of that, in the sense of just like, well, it can't just be that nobody wants to talk to me because I'm a fucking asshole. It must be a huge conspiracy where the Illuminati has replaced humans on the internet with robots, and this dude is the only one red-pilled enough to bring this amazing revelation to the masses. It's incredible.
Yeah, and it needs to be said. There's the classic saying, if it smells like shit everywhere you go, maybe you should take a shower. Maybe you should look under your shoe.
True.
So he goes on and he explains some of his observations, which is, he says, I've seen the same threads, the same pics, and the same replies reposted over and over across the years, to the point of me seeing it as unremarkable. Simply put, thread A would be posted in, say, 2015, and would get a share of replies or pics on some channel that I don't care about. And then on the very same thread, with the same pictures and replies, would appear in 2016 and beyond. And it's like, I don't know. Do you expect to see like original thoughts or like clever, insightful things when you go onto 4chan?
Well, I mean, the same thing happens on like Reddit, which is like people repost shit constantly, and it's for their own to validate themselves, which is I don't really understand that myself, but I know that people like they just want to see big number next to their name, so they repost shit all the time. I don't think it's some like conspiracy with bots or anything. It's just like some person who wants to be Reddit famous, and it's too difficult to make like an insightful or funny or meaningful post. So instead, I'll just steal something that was posted 4 years ago and repost it, and then I'll be the star of Reddit for the day. And the same shit happens on 4chan, even though there's not upvotes or whatever. It's people, I don't know, like plagiarists, they don't really care about integrity. They just want accolades. It's validation for people who don't get a lot of validation in their lives, I guess.
Yeah, it needs to be said. Obviously, we have all our issues with how like commodified the internet is nowadays, how everybody's just in it to make a quick buck. And, a quick, easy way of doing that is just like stealing other people's content, stealing their thoughts, reposting like funny tweets from a few years ago, but on like your account so you can get the clicks and everything. And like, obviously, yeah, money is a big thing to blame, but this behavior is like, it's not a new thing, right? We saw a lot of this even back on like the quote unquote good old days of the internet, which I'm going to use that term more sparingly from now on, because I don't want to sound like a boomer. Things weren't always better back then. Some things were. A lot of things were also like complete dog shit in the past.
Yeah.
But to make the point here, even without a financial incentive, a lot of people just reposted things for clout or social capital, if you want to use a fancy sociological term, where like, even if there's no money to be had, back on like internet forums in like 2004 or something, there were power users. When you see somebody with like 10,000 posts under their name and like a big stupid like pixel art badge with like, I don't know, Sonic the Hedgehog on it or something that says like mega poster or some shit, like people kind of deferred to that a little bit, and it was really dumb. So right. A lot of this stuff that people like this guy attribute to bots or like government agents or whatever, it's just people trying to get like a rise out of like repeating other jokes that they saw. People just act like bots sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's a thing, is like clout chasing has, now it's a little bit different, because it's like if you do something funny on Twitter or you go viral on Instagram or TikTok for posting some funny video that people like or something like that. Now everybody's mind jumps to monetization. Okay, cool. Now I can start making money. But like 10, 20 years ago, that wasn't really a thing. But you can still be like famous in this niche corner of the internet or beyond potentially. So it was always a drive for people to do that. And some people were organically funny, or they tried to be, and some people just stole shit. Like, or they were derivative, or they were just repeating jokes they heard from other people.
Yeah, there are incentives for like attention-seeking behavior that have nothing to do with money at all, and that's a big problem that's always been on the internet, because that's just a people problem. People just like attention, and I don't think there's anything inherently like insidious or like dark about that. It just means a lot of people who aren't very funny will repeat jokes that they heard from funny people, and that's
sure.
just how it is.
For sure. Yeah, it's been happening since the beginning of time. I'm sure the ancient Greeks were stealing jokes from each other and trying to get credit for them. I'm sure you could see some graffiti on the walls of
That's actually
Rome.
one of my favorite things about looking up this like ancient Greek graffiti, because they used slightly different language, but like they made the same jokes and the same shit that we would do, like even when we were kids here, like the whole like Marcus Aurelius whatever was here, or like this tavern fucking sucks or something.
Yeah, so I assume you're referencing that there was like a compendium of graffiti that some archaeologists dug up in Rome at some point, and they had it all listed out, and it was so interesting because it's like some things are kind of just like ethnographically immortal, just in the just like you said, it was like this place sucks, or like Marcus Julius has a small penis, or like some stupid shit. It's like these are things that people 2,000 years ago thought were poignant to write on a wall. I'm not going to say poignant, but they thought it was worth writing on a wall.
They thought it was important enough to post.
Right, exactly. And it's the same shit that, like, number one, you would write on a bathroom stall in some shithole bar, or post on Twitter, because for the epic lulls.
Yeah, this is a reason why I'm always like very hesitant when I talk about like technology and social media to go like, I think this made people do that, where it's like, no, if you went back like 2,000 years and you gave like some ancient Roman dipshit like a smartphone, they would be doing a lot of the same shit that we did on the early internet and today.
Absolutely. And it's like, it's the same thing. It's like, you see those people who are like, oh, phone bad. In the old days, people didn't do this. And then you see like a picture of like, well, they'll post some picture of like a bunch of people like on a train looking at their phones. It's like, in the old days, people used to tip their hat to each other and have conversations with strangers. And then they post some picture of like people on a train in like 1925, and it's just like a bunch of people with their nose buried in a newspaper or like passed out. It's like, no, they didn't. Like, what?
I mean, it's funny that we bring up the whole like ancient Greek and Rome thing, because I remember there was a whole thing about how the whole like, oh, kids these days are dumb and lazy. That sentiment has been around like literally as long as civilization. You can
you can hear quotes from like Plato and shit, and they're like, the youth of today does not respect elders. They want to learn anything. They spend all their time
reading scrolls.
And not the good scrolls either. Not the ones of our forefathers. They're reading entertainment scrolls.
I read stone tablets like a civilized adult. They just read these fucking scrolls, and then they go to the Colosseum and I don't know, plank or something.
Yeah, I mean all the Roman kids planking at the Colosseum. They're all just eating hot whatever their version of hot chip is.
It had roughly the same
crisps.
It had roughly the same mortality rate back then as it did today, which is more than you would think. So as we go on, this is kind of like the climax of the post. It's a little early in, but when you originally sent me this, Dave, I was like, oh boy, this paragraph is a fucking doozy. It starts, I'll just read the first sentence. Innocent sexual perversion and the horrible reality it spawned.
Yeah, that's not even a complete sentence. First of all, this guy posits himself as some genius, and that's not a. There's no subject verb in there. It's just
it's not
guy.
good. So
come on,
so
guy.
As a little like preface to this, he's gonna go on to say how a lot of the like sexual degeneracy or whatever of the internet nowadays can be blamed on some big conspiracy, and we'll unpack it. So reading on, he says, Anon is a pervert and always was one. I am into lolly and feet, for instance. Why is it that real life and the real world always seem to emulate our sexual interests with a time lag? I wish to be the little succubus became an actual thing that actually happens. Pedoactivism is also gradually becoming accepted, as is virtually every fetish that was once either a joke or a fantasy of Anons.
Source needed on that one.
So, okay, hold on. So when he talks about, I wish to become the little succubus, one, based if you want to do that. Two, like, okay, he opens and says, okay, he's into lolly, but now he's saying, okay, pedoactivism is becoming a thing when these things used to be like a fetish that were joked about by Anons. It's like, you're not joking. You just said you're into it, dude.
That's a funny thing. And then also it's like, that's kind of like, is that, I don't want to use the term incorrectly, but like confirmation bias, in the sense of like, you're on 4chan probably 6 hours a day, if not more. Yeah, dude, pedo activism is not accepted anywhere except in your weird fucking disgusting corner of the internet. And yeah, like, I don't really know what the narrative here is.
Guy who has spent his entire formative and adult years on 4chan thinks, oh, this looks suspiciously like a 4chan op.
Yeah, right. And like, I will say, like, the foot fetishist thing has become more of a meme in modern times, but I think it's just that's just kind of the time moves on, and people just start to like post things kind of making fun of it and picking on it, so it's like then it becomes kind of a joke.
Yeah, I mean, everything that was once like scandalous and controversial just kind of like isn't anymore. Like, right. You go back and you watch a lot of like early Simpsons episodes, and there were things that were like very spicy or like controversial for TV at the time that we don't even think about at all nowadays.
Sure, and I'm sure there's like VHS tapes from 1991 that were like foot fetish things. Like that's definitely been going on. I remember there was a King of the Hill episode where somebody's paying Peggy to like stomp on like rotten eggs with her giant feet. And it's so like Mike Judge knew that there was that foot fetishism was a thing at the time, and it kind of, and that's really the thing. It's just like the more contemporary culture catches on to these things and uses it as something to either poke fun at or just analyze or talk about or whatever, then it's going to come into the forefront of normal people who don't have these fetishes. And if you have a foot fetish, I don't mean to call you abnormal. Like, fucking feet are cool, I guess.
Statistically, you're probably very normal. That's literally the most popular fetish, apparently.
Yeah, and that's interesting too. Like, hey, man, like fucking feet, cool. Good,
keep towing the line on that one. Hey,
did you? You've been waiting to use that one, right?
I had that queued up for at least 10 seconds. Okay, so it needs to be said, when this guy talks about, he also mentions, why is it that real life and the real world seem to emulate our sexual interests with a time lag? I don't know what he's talking about real life. This guy hasn't been in the real world if you're still on like fucking 4chan and Poll in like 2021. Come on,
Right.
dude.
Well, I think that's actually confirmation bias, is like, I'm into these weird fetishes and then I see them on the internet. It's like, yeah, of course you do. You're looking for them. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's, I don't think the dude's walking. Well, the dude probably never walked down a street in his life. He probably sits in his fucking neckbeard nest, looking at like Sonic the Hedgehog hentai. Again, that's not a judgment call. We all know.
I think his taste is
Sonic's
probably worse than that.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, and then you're seeing more of this. Like, yeah, like, sure, of course.
Yeah, and it only gets worse as this paragraph wraps up. And slur warning, but I'm allowed to say this one, so I'm just going to read it.
Yeah.
He goes on to say, the results of this are devastating to society, to people, to civilization. Simply put, trannies are a thing because Anon masturbated to too many comics of cute boys in dresses. Once it was an impossible fantasy not to be taken seriously. Now it's a grim reality. Come on.
I mean, true. Honestly, that's a no. I'm just kidding. That is crazy. And of course, like, this definitely ties in with this dude's self-identification of like a right-wing dude. Is like, they think that, well, there's no way that people could naturally be trans. How is that possible? It must be society is transing the kids with. And it's so hypocritical too. Like, it's so fucking bizarre that this dude who like beats off to like lowly hentai and feet and shit like that is just like, well, that's just like a thing I'm into, but like trans people couldn't just be a naturally occurring thing. It must be because 4chan losers are jerking off to cross-dressing boys in doujin manga. Like,
Listen, I'm just saying, you're gonna have some incorrect and messed up views about gender if your only exposure to people like behaving outside of their like assigned sex is like masturbating to like Nick Fuentes's like boyfriend put on the cat ears. You know,
Right,
maybe you should go out, meet some more people.
yeah. I wonder how many Matt Walsh viewers are like have gotten a diaper fetish just from like watching his like being a part of his community. I'd really like to see the data on that one.
Well, it's definitely not zero. We're not going to go into a whole Matt Walsh thing today, but like if you watch some of his like early appearances, like he was originally like a shock jock radio host or some shit.
Oh, right.
And
yeah.
he was like very weird and kind of like frat bro-y, but also tried to do the whole like traditional sexual morality, like anti-degeneracy stuff. It was a very weird like amalgamation of just weird beliefs that I guess are now very normal because of websites like 4chan.
Right. And then like weren't there clips of him on whatever weird, it was like an AM radio show or some shit where he's like talking about lowering the age of consent the whole time, and it's like, yeah, just degeneracy is a huge problem. You're totally right. Anyways, hey.
Yeah, I think he said something like the only problem with 16-year-olds getting pregnant is that they're not married when they do it, which is like,
right.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, it's
This paragraph, this ends on a strong note, which is
Yes.
a key point that I want to hit on, which is
Yes,
he says, again, it's as if the real world is using image boards as a template on what to be and what to do.
this,
And-
yeah, and that's like,
If you ask me,
Yeah.
this is a defining feature of anybody who spends too much time on 4chan, which is like spending any time on 4chan, if you ask me. But they kind of see themselves as this like elite intelligentsia of the internet. Like they're the taste setters. They think they're the most important people in the world, which is why all of these like conspiracies, all of this dumb like dead internet theory shit, it all comes back to this like core presumption he makes, which is that like, yeah, 4chan users are the most important people in the world, and I'm going to explain everything as like revolving around us. And it's no.
Right. And I don't mean to be like a lay intelligent Reddit guy with many IQ points, but I'm pretty sure this is what they call, this is actually confirmation bias in the or you know, the correlation causation thing, where it's just like, I see these things, and well, it can't just be like these things exist for other reason. It must be because I see this on 4chan image boards, and then I see it in other places. It can't be that these things exist in the world and then come to 4chan image boards. It must be because this guy is clearly so fucking terminally online that the things he sees on 4chan image boards manifest themselves into reality. And I think that's a thing that you see very often with conspiracy nuts, is just whatever weird narrative they have in their heads about like reality. It just has to be that. It can't be like the simple explanation for that. It must be because like the Illuminati is putting trans porn on into the universe because they saw it on 4chan image boards.
Yeah,
that's definitely where they're getting it from.
Like I have some boomers, some like older people in my life, like relatives and family friends and stuff, and they spend too much time reading conspiracies on the internet, which is why like we'll be standing outside just like going to the grocery store or something, and they look up and they see a plane that's flying a little bit too low, and then like this guy, you know, he'll get so mad, he's like, "What are they fucking spraying on us now?" And I'm like, dude, maybe the plane is just flying like slightly too low and that's why you heard it, you know.
They're spraying estrogen on you, obviously.
Yeah, well, I mean, they used to do that. Now we just have the 5G towers, which is much more efficient.
Exactly. But I mean, if the estrogen plane comes by, you stick out your tongue like in a Charlie Brown movie, and you're just like, yum.
Yeah, or just like keep sugar. Listening. Just keep listening to this show. It has the same effect.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm gonna jump a little bit because there was a thing he wrote near the conclusion of this post. So we're jumping ahead just a little bit, but I'm bringing it up now because it adds to this point where he says, "There's a pretty powerful impulse in us which, when we hear something huge that could change our view of everything, rejects it to protect ourselves. No one wants to have their whole world view, which they've built a life upon, blown apart." And he says this in the context of like trying to sell people on like the big conclusion of his like dead internet theory conspiracy, which we'll get to. But I'm bringing it up now because it's like, okay, this guy, he doesn't believe this, right? Because he can't even accept something even slightly out of his own like preconceived worldview, which is like, yeah, some people just like are gay and want to change their gender and put on the cat ears and maid dress or whatever. And it's not just like some weird 4chan like conspiracy government psyop or whatever, but you know, he's not ready to accept that in spite of his supposed like great observational skills or whatever.
Yeah, a very bizarre conclusion for sure.
Yeah, so getting past that awful paragraph, another point he brings up is that things seem very derivative nowadays in media. He says, "Do you like cape shit, Anon? How about Hollywood stuff? Music, perhaps? Have you noticed how sterile fiction has become? How it caters to the lowest common denominator and follows the same template over and over again?" Unlike fucking soy jack memes on Poll or whatever.
And again, this is like a dude who does not understand like parsimony in any way. It's like, no, dude, this isn't some like conspiracy. It's just like, why is cape shit so, why is it so relevant now? Why is it so popular? Because it's fucking IP that nobody needed to make up. You just take it, you monetize it, and you churn it out. It's money. It's a fucking
People
cat.
have already liked fucking Spider-Man for so many decades.
Exactly.
So they see Spider-Man on the film and he does the flip, he does the big CGI effects. It's cool. I don't care if people like this. I get why it's popular. They made a few of those movies however many years ago and they did really well financially. So they're going to make more of it. Again, there's no fucking like monetary economic like element to this guy's like analysis of the world.
Oh, and then he goes on, because I found this on there. How is music just auto-tunes and basic blandness? The writer's strike never ended. Algorithms and computer programs are manufacturing modern fiction. No human being is behind these things. And this is the same fucking bullshit boomer argument about like music these days is bad. And it's like, dude, look at any fucking decade, and there is so much bullshit that's coming out during this time. Like, people be like, hey, there's not music like the Beatles anymore. And it's like, dude, look at the fucking era when the Beatles came out. Have you heard of a band called the fucking Monkees before? That shit was popular at that time. There's always been slop, dude. There's always been slop. You know why? Because it's money. It's all about making money. There were actually good pieces of media that made money, but there's always been bullshit that's been churned out to make a quick buck and turn it around. The difference is we forgot about a lot of that shit that was just a quick buck turnaround, and then the stuff from those eras that stuck around we remember. So it's always this weird amnesia of certain eras where we say like things at that time were better, and it's like, no, they weren't. You just remember the good shit, and the good shit it's what do they call it, like survivorship bias or whatever. I don't know why I keep talking about like all these logical fallacies. I feel like such a fucking
I will admit, as I took all these like screenshots of paragraphs for my notes today, I'm feeling like a little bit. I feel like we're going a little debate, bro. Like Reddit brain on here.
You know, it's fine. Like we should at some time. Our brains are very huge, and you know, like
look, it's not going to be the entire episode today, but I did think it was really important to read this guy's words verbatim, just to get to the point that you should not take this person seriously.
Oh, for sure. But I do like, I think you may have had this queued up, but I do like the last sentence in that paragraph.
Oh, I was just about to
go ahead. You say it.
So he's talking about like Hollywood and cape shit and music, and that's examples of things he finds like boring and derivative. So the next thing he says is, "This is why anime looms so large. Even a simple moe anime has heart because there's actual people behind it, and we all intuitively feel this."
that fucking incredible, dude.
Oh my god,
incredible.
Anime is like, I say this as, okay, there's no people on earth who hate anime more than people who actually like anime.
Yes.
And as someone who likes a fair bit of anime myself, I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about, dude. There is so much like fucking seasonal, like shonen slop garbage. So many fucking like literally slice of life, cute girls doing cute things shows with no plot or whatever. And they just exist so that like weirdos like this fucking guy can look at like middle school children like put their feet up or something. I don't know, dude.
Exactly. And like, yeah, like anime has been a part of mainstream, an animation tradition that has been a part of mainstream Japanese culture for long before Western animation or comic books or anything like that have been mainstream. So it's like, you really think none of this is slop? You really think none of this is like studios or publishing agencies just being like, put out whatever is popular right now. We need to make money. Get just whatever. This other thing, rip it off. Whatever.
Yeah, this is such a problem that, okay, I think we've done already our fucking like tirade about why fucking isekai manga and anime sucks, but this is a thing you see in a lot of isekai anime, which is like they actually reuse a lot of like stock art from completely different series. So like when they zoom out to show like the world or something in those shows, you'll see like rolling green hills and some like fantasy RPG looking town with like a river going through it and like castle walls on the outside, and you will see this exact same like illustration used across many different shows, because the fucking setting, the world, the plot, it's all boring, it's all interchangeable, it's all derivative. They are literally like asset flips. It's an entire like animation industry of like asset flips, which isn't to say it's all of it, but there's a huge fucking market for sloppy bullshit anime content.
Yes, slop has existed for quite a while. We talk about it usually in the modern context, but like, yeah, it's been around for a while. So this is definitely like Reddit brain, kind of the dudes who are like, they don't do this in Europe or Japan. It's like, you know nothing about these places. Like you're totally, you've built a fantasy around like just a world that you're not a part of, and you try to like glamorize it as if these unfortunate circumstances that we find ourselves in as members of modern society don't exist in these magical places, which to terminally online people happen to be Japan and certain European countries for some reason. I don't really know where that comes from, but yeah, that's a perfect illustration of that.
Yeah, you know, there's something to be said about how a lot of like music nowadays it kind of sucks, or like a lot of like I'm not into the fucking MCU cape shit either, but there are clear like monetary reasons why that kind of slop is made. Whereas when you look at something like the anime industry, I'll say this: a lot of the reason you see a lot of like weird like pedo bait kind of content in those shows is because the people who fund that industry are not like regular viewers like you and I. They are people like this person. They are like weird like 30-something virgins living in their basements who just like get into these shows because they want to perv on little girls or something. And these people, they buy the merch, they buy the Blu-ray like box sets, they buy the manga like box books, whatever. They're spending the money. So it shouldn't surprise anybody that this guy thinks, oh, okay, the entire industry literally built around appeasing his like weird perversions is like the one good piece of media in
yeah,
his
exactly.
mind.
It's like a mobile game. They're gonna base everything upon not just the casual viewer or the casual consumer of this. They want to see what do the whales want, because they're the people who are gonna drop bills on this shit. They're the ones who are gonna empty out their bank account to get all the merch, all the bullshit, all the add-ons, all the whatever, for all of this type of stuff. And then people are like, well, why is this so bad? And it's like, because it's not made for you. It's made for the fucking psychopaths that will spend their entire paycheck on this fucking bullshit because they are weird as fuck.
Yeah, and it's fine if you're like a casual anime fan, or like there's a show that you like that maybe has like a few like weird things in it. It's fine. It's not made for you. The fact that you are into it is just like icing on the cake. It's a few extra dollars on the pile of gold bars that these actual like weirdos throw at this stuff. That's fine. There's a lot of shows that I like in spite of some like questionable things, which I wish they would cut out. But sometimes you can look past it and other times you can't.
Right.
And I think I have a feeling like how bad the shows that this guy likes probably are.
Yeah, I could only imagine.
I feel like watching them would probably put me on a list or something.
Yeah, I don't actually really want to know.
Yeah, we'll unpack that another time. So going on with the dead internet theory post, that kind of sums up his original observations. Now we get to the point where he goes into like the actual conspiracy, which he's trying to believe. So it starts off with this first little bit about how it seems like the internet is full of a lot of bots and people who aren't real. But, when we've talked about how, like, a lot of people use the phrase dead internet theory to refer to, like, oh, there's a lot of bots on this YouTube video or something, it's much worse than that. So, going on, he says, fake people. No, not NPCs. YouTube people who talk about this or that, and quite possibly many politicians, actors, and so forth may not actually exist. In fact, I am sure of it. CGI and deepfakes are more advanced than we are led to believe, and we can't trust our eyes anymore. Many people, events, news, and so on may be wholly fictional.
No. In 2006, or when was this made?
This was posted in 2021, but even back then and today, like, it's obviously.
Oh right.
He's trying to say that, like, fucking, like, Minecraft YouTubers or something, or like their entire CGI people who, like, get on camera every day.
We're still not quite at that level of technology where this is all deep fakes. And again, as with everything with this, there's a much simpler explanation for this. Is just like money. It's not, the Illuminati's not deep faking these people. It's just they're just not. They're not. It's just not good.
I mean, he talks about YouTube people, but then he also mentions possibly many politicians who just don't exist. Like, I'm sorry, have you seen the average age of the person in Congress? Do you think if they, like, made some kind of fucking, like, CGI VTuber senator, like, that Mitch McConnell could be like, oh yeah, I'll just stay quiet about this. I understand these machines,
right. And like, wouldn't they do a better job than to have dudes like Mitch McConnell who, like, have brain shutdowns in the middle of addressing the news? Like, no.
I mean, that guy is literally, like, he's already a corpse. There was that clip of, like, his hand was, like, going, like, purple and blue and shit while he was just standing around.
And that's such high effort. Like, it's kind of like faking the moon landing thing. It's just like, why would they do that when it's just, it's like, that's like harder than just actually just having just shitty people that they pay to be assholes. Like, if there really is it, I mean, that's my whole take about the Illuminati shit or whatever. It's just like, no, dude, you're giving way too much credit. And that's my problem with conspiracy people in general. Is it's like, dude, these people are fucking idiots. You really think there's some shadowy board of figures that has all of this shit figured out? Like, no, dude, like, people in high powerful positions are fucking idiots. Like, they are dumb as fuck, which lends more credibility to my theory that the people who are like hardcore conspiracy nuts have never had an actual job before, because it's like, dude, we've all had a boss that was, like, supposedly superior to us in this hierarchy of roles in your job, and they're just, like, fucking dumbasses. And it's like, you really think, like, it changes when you get into, like, government roles and shit like that? No, dude, just half of these people are fucking idiots. And the reason everything's fucked up is because everything's run by fucking dumbasses.
Yeah, it reminds me how way back in the day, like a few decades ago, the military tried to look into, like, it tried to, like, identify, like, gay men in service, because there used to be a phrase like a friend of Lucy or something. I don't think it was like Lucy. It was some other name.
Yeah.
And they actually tried to look for this person as if she was like a real, like, person, but no, it was just a fucking, like, euphemism or whatever.
Right. Yeah, the best and brightest are working on it right now.
Yeah. Going on, we only have a couple more points to this post. He says, the internet on your smartphone is not the same internet as on your PC. Try it out yourself. Go onto a popular website with lots of traffic. Any site with a massive user base and fast content will do. Spend a few days randomly checking in on your PC and your phone. You will soon notice that from time to time, at irregular intervals, as far as I've witnessed, the same site on your phone will be wholly different than the version on your PC, which is just, one, this is, like, largely not true, Like,
No,
and to the extent
that's
that it
just-
is, it's just because, like, okay, maybe you have a slightly different algorithm on your phone, but it's still the same website. When I spend too much time scrolling through Twitter on my desktop, and then I go to take a shit, and I take my phone out because I'm completely domesticated, and I look at Twitter, it's the same posts I've seen 5 minutes ago. Okay.
Yeah, there's really nothing to say about that one. That's just fucking wrong. He's having an episode.
Yeah, it's complete schizo posting. And there's a whole bunch of shit that I've skipped. Like, there's a big pile of links to news articles about, like, the origins of Facebook, and, like, some stuff about the NSA and Google buying, like, tech companies that made bots, and, like, the early days of, like, deep fake tech, and, like, upvote manipulation on Reddit or whatever. It's just completely schizo stuff. None of this stuff has anything to do with, like, the point he's trying to make. It's just all complete bullshit.
Yeah, and it's kind of like an Occam's razor thing. It's just like, dude, yeah, like Zuckerberg is bad, but your whole narrative on this is just way too convoluted. It's just like, no, they want to get money for their company. Like, it's not some like convoluted scheme. It's just like, what makes money? Okay, we do this. It's pretty simple, man. Like, I don't really know what to tell you.
He says, I have a feeling that we're in a strange kind of civil war, an internal one. I think Zuckerberg and the other tech guys were all on 4chan as Anons at some point, maybe even now. They drew from the same well as us, but went in their own direction.
Yeah.
Which, again, this is complete, like, fucking delusions of grandeur, like, self-important bullshit. No, like, 4chan just, it's not fucking relevant anymore. I'm sorry, you guys are boomers. You guys are, like, Facebook posting. You are old people trying to stay hip and relevant on the internet that's forgotten you.
Yeah, and I like, I don't know, maybe Zuck was on 4chan at some point, but, like, no, they're not like you. And that's kind of the problem with these people, is they have these delusions that, like, they really can't think outside of their own bubble, and they really cannot fathom a person who is or thinks differently than them. So the only conclusion you can come to is, like, Zuckerberg was a 4chaner like me, but then he became an evil 4chaner. And then all those people that I used to hang out with in a 4chan and whatever, like, Rule 34 fucking lowly feet hentai place that I'd talk to people, they must have just been poofed off the internet and replaced by robots. It's like, dude, no, like, what are you doing, man? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, this is the last little excerpt from the thread that I'm going to quote here. And he goes on to say, image boards and their Wild West attitude have allowed for the free exchange of ideas to flow more or less uninhibited. As a result, conscious or otherwise, the cream of the crop of the content that originates here disseminates to the normies in a gradual, stratified way. And there are two layers to why this is complete bullshit. And the first of those is that, okay, yes, the internet, like, 20-something years ago, we do like to think of it as, like, more of a Wild West where, like, anything goes. But when we say anything goes, it was more like, okay, you could post, like, Goatsy in a random forum, and
Yes.
everybody would be like, it's the butthole picture, that's funny. But there are a lot of things that, like, there are a lot of ideas that you can't, quote unquote, exchange freely at all. Like, I don't know, changing your gender or something. Like, no, this must be like the weird, like, succubus cat girl hentai post. This isn't real. It's complete nonsense, dude.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say about that one. That's just it just seems like a dude crying that the weird shit that used to be on his favorite 4chan board is no longer there, probably because the people he used to hang out with have hit puberty, whereas this dude's like 30 something years old.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of ways the internet sucks nowadays, but I, for one, think think it's better that, I don't know, you can just go onto like Pornhub and see like a 25-year-old girl dress up as like the hentai succubus or something, instead of going to like fucking 8chan and looking up some like weird, barely legal like comic drawn by a pervert in their basement or whatever.
Yeah, at least it's somewhat legit there.
Yeah, the thing is here, like, this guy, it's what I said before. 4chan users think they're like the elite. They're like some like secret mastermind force behind the internet. And the root of this like dead internet theory is, I think these guys are just mad that 4chan is not culturally relevant anymore. He can't feel superior to other people because nobody gives a shit about 4chan anymore, except us, who are like making a fucking hour something long podcast episode about it.
Well, I do think it's an interesting cultural corner of the internet, but I don't think that there's anything particularly special about it. It's just like, here's it. The only real thing about 4chan is it kind of how can I say, it kind of postures as like a web 1.0 thing, and at the same time it's anonymous by default, so it's usually people just posting for the sake of posting instead of trying to be internet famous or relevant.
Yeah,
for
cool. Better or worse, nobody's making any money on 4chan.
Right.
Except I guess the like fucking like hentai fleshlight companies that sell ads on there.
And that's the thing. Like, I've seen funny green texts and seminal 4chan posts and shit, and it's like, let's go on 4chan and like see these things as they and it's like, dude, that's cherry picking like the 0.01% of things on 4chan that are good. Usually it's just people like saying slurs and posting the dumbest takes that you'll ever see, and not even like interesting dumb, just like boring trash.
It's like the same kind of stuff you could find on fucking like iFunny nowadays.
Yes.
Except with more slurs.
in the same type of comedy as well. And iFunny has its share of slurs as well, I think.
Yeah, it's not good out there. Like, when I was a teenager, I was never a big 4chan user, but I kind of liked it because at some point in time, it was a great place to like pirate music. I kind of liked the Mew share threads where people would like just show off something new and interesting they found on a whim, and it's like, okay, here's a download link, check out the album. And that was awesome. I think that was genuinely fun, but the internet is not that anymore, and 4chan definitely isn't either. It's shit out there.
Yeah, that was the benefit of the Wild West internet, is just companies not being able to stick their thumb up your ass every time you like share an album or something like that. But as far as like the free speech was a thing and now it's not, it's like, no, like by free speech you just mean like saying corny racial slurs and shit like that. Like that's I don't care about that. I don't miss that.
Yeah, it's maybe that speech is free because it has no value.
Right.
Yeah, so that kind of concludes like the post itself, and obviously there's a lot to riff on there. We can easily make fun of this guy until the cows come home, but I think there are a few valid like observations if we like really wade through this pile of shit to get those nuggets of corn, which is to say, yeah, there are some true ways that the internet sucks nowadays, and maybe we can go over those. We can address the real meat behind how most people use the term dead internet theory.
Yeah, for sure. And like bots have been a thing for quite a while. And
they've been there for decades.
Yeah, absolutely. And even before this whole wave of AI bullshit, they would just have people doing it, which were probably getting paid fucking jack shit. To like, I mean, spam has been around since like the 90s, like spam email. I mean, the internet's always been full of shit, just like the world has always been full of shit. It's just a different medium with that.
The first big, beautiful anime titties I ever saw in my life were from a spam pop-up ad when I was like 12 years old.
Yeah. See, that's the thing is when people try to say that they miss Web 1.0 so much and we should all go back to that. It's like, dude, you remember fucking pop-up ads? Like, that was
all of those people have jerked off to a meat and fuck kingdom game at some point.
For sure.
Yeah, if anything, like we can talk a little bit about AI and how like, oh, people think every bot nowadays is an AI thing, but I'll say this whole wave of like Chat GPT, Open AI bullshit, the only real revolution when it comes to like the bots writing things is they do it much faster nowadays.
Yeah.
But it's been many years since like YouTube and Google search and stuff has been like completely useless. You know, you try to find something and you just get some like bot written website that's like some like fake listicle to sell you links to like a bunch of different shops or whatever, and that's not a new thing.
Right. And these slop sites, these content aggregators and the listicles and bullshit like that, they've existed for a while. It's just people used to write them, and now these people behind this can just have an AI write them, which is easier. But like, it's not. It doesn't really change the scene of this at all. It's just the people who are behind this shit make a little bit more money, and there's no middleman in between them getting like a couple bucks to make some bullshit like affiliate link website for them. They can just churn them out faster. So yeah, I mean, like it's always been a problem. What do you do about that?
It goes back to the thing we said about how this guy has like no concept of like the market or economics or like people just wanting to make money cynically. Like this guy's entire conspiracy is that the government and corporations is so envious of like the cultural power that 4chan had at some point that they have to go through all these efforts to like mimic a fraction of 4chan's power and like snuff it out with like an entire like film industry of cape shit so that people spend less time looking at anime or something.
Right.
I don't know,
yeah. It's just a big conspiracy against really intelligent 4chan people like him and cultured anime viewers and all the things that the world would be better if these people ran the show, but instead it's Mark Zuckerberg and the lizard people, man. That's fucking bullshit. I'm so sick of it.
Yeah, and let's be clear. There's no such thing as lizard people except for Mark Zuckerberg. He's like the only one. Okay, nobody else is as weird as that guy.
He really does actually look like a lizard. Just dead eyes, weird skin. Like
I'm really disappointed that the whole like boxing match between Elon Musk and Zuckerberg never happened, because I feel like Zuck would have destroyed him.
Zuck would have beaten the shit out of Elon, but there's always a chance that they both punch each other at the same time, and it's like a Superman versus Batman. I think that was the thing. I don't really read comics, but they punch each other at the same time and they both die at the same time.
Yeah, it could be. Like, on the one hand, I know that Zuckerberg is like pretty into like fitness, like he works out and stuff like that, and he's like 20 years or something younger than Elon Musk, and
yeah,
he takes better care of himself.
Yeah, he's actually one of those like hustling tech bro weirdos. Where he probably has a blood boy, but he also like does cardio at 3 a.m. and like takes all sorts of supplements and shit like that. Whereas
I think he's probably closer to like the fucking like American Psycho, like Patrick Bateman ideal than a lot of much more human looking people.
Oh, for sure. And I'm pretty sure Elon is like he's fully on that divorced dad tip where like he probably wakes up at like 11:30 a.m. Just like checks his phone, like takes the gun off of his bedside stand, like puts it in his mouth and thinks about it and then doesn't, because like somebody some random Indian guy was like, "You are very good, Mr. Elon Musk. Give me a job at Tesla factory, please." And he's like, "Yeah, actually, you're right. You're right, user 30592614651."
Yeah, but he sleeps in a race car bed. Do you?
I sleep in a big bed with my wife.
Oh, that's a bit for all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
If anything, I'm disappointed that fight never happened, because all of his like health and fitness aside, I feel like Zuck just doesn't have that like spark of like humanity behind his eyes. I definitely feel like he could like strangle the life out of somebody and feel nothing for it.
Yeah, that would be cool if we just let that android man go buck wild on Elon. But it'll never happen because Elon's mom said no.
Yeah.
She said
Sorry,
he's
his
not
mom
allowed.
didn't let him.
It wasn't allowed.
Though we can bring this back to, since we brought up Zuckerberg, I will say I think it's fair to blame a lot of the current state of the internet on Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook/Meta. I hate calling it that entirely, because one of the things that Facebook did that made things like really awful nowadays is they kind of like they kind of bullshitted a lot of the data that they collected on their user base. This is a reason why like everything is a fucking video nowadays and print media is fucking dead. It's because like back about 10 something years ago, when Facebook got like really big, when it was no longer like a thing just for college students and it reached the normie sphere or whatever you want to call it, Facebook just produced a lot of bullshit data that said, yeah, nobody's reading shit anymore. Everything has to be on video now. And like all of like traditional media just kind of like accepted that. So now that's a reason why you can't like fucking Google anything and get like real articles written by actual people anymore, because of fucking Facebook and their bullshit data numbers.
Well, that's what's really annoying too, is like I like to look up like how to do things in like a certain program or something like that, and you can't find just text step-by-step things how to do something. It's all a fucking YouTube video where most of it is fluff, where they're like, hey, I'm gonna teach you how to do this thing, and first if you saw my other video, it's like, dude, just tell me how to do the thing. I don't give a fuck about who you are, and like I don't need your introduction. Just how do I do this very simple thing? But you have to wade through so many fucking bullshit YouTube videos. And yeah, I didn't know that Zuck was behind that, but now I hate him even more.
Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, but to the extent that videos are useful at all, the best videos are the ones where it's like a minute and 30 seconds and it's recorded like by some guy in like Pakistan that like barely speaks English, and it's like unregistered HyperCam 2 and there's no voiceover. He just has like Notepad open and just slowly types everything.
Yeah, an actually helpful person.
Yes, that is the thing. I'm clowning on it a little bit, but those things will actually have the answer, and it'll get you the answer in like 1 minute or less.
Right.
Yeah, so that's another thing. Also, I have friends who work in the tech sector, and obviously I'll respect their privacy. I don't want to hurt their income or anything, but I've heard firsthand from people who work for like tech companies that a lot of the stuff that comes down to like collecting data on people and like selling it to advertisers, it's all kind of bullshit. When it comes to Facebook, the data that they show to people, like metrics, when you look on a post, like how many people like this or whatever, it's exaggerated by anywhere from like 150 to 900%, even though Facebook will say, yeah, it's a little exaggerated, it's more like 60 to 80%. No, it could be like 10 times more than the actual number you're seeing on screen. And it's bad for like the content that you see, and it's bad for like the private data that they sell to advertisers, and like the entire ad-based internet is just it's just a pile of lies, and I think it's going to crumble sooner or later.
Well, that's what I've been noticing that lately and wondering about. It's like I usually have ad block on the computer, but I do watch YouTube on the phone once in a while, or serve it to the Chromecast on the TV in the living room. And I'm like, how have they been collecting my data for the last 20 years, and they're serving me the most irrelevant ads that I've ever had. Like, what are you? What is the point of doing this when you're serving me shit that, like, I have no interest in this whatsoever? It's not even like I don't want to see an ad. It's like, even if I did, this is not beneficial to me at all. There's no universe in which I would click on this or consume this product. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm not going to say that I've never seen an ad served to me that was something I didn't like. You know, like sometimes I'll see an ad, I'll be like, oh, okay, that looks kind of cool. I'm probably not going to buy it, but maybe I'll click on it or something. I'm not immune to the propaganda or whatever. But other times it's like, okay, there's a website I've been using for like how many years, and it'll randomly serve me an ad in French. Like, I don't speak French. I don't follow people who post in French.
Yeah.
I don't even live in like the French part of Canada. So.
Where are you getting this data? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah, I get Spanish ads on YouTube once in a while. It's like, what about
yeah, it's not like you live in a border state or something.
Exactly.
Either, right?
Exactly. Like, what about my history that makes you think that I speak Spanish, or that any of this is I mean, I do like spicy Latinas, but
I know we often release episodes of this podcast on like Spanish time, which is to say a little bit late.
True.
But that's about it. Yeah. There's another big claim. This is not so much in the Dead Internet Theory 4chan post itself, but I've seen a lot of people on YouTube talk about this when they try to explain the theory, and they say that the percentage of real people, quote unquote, on the internet is getting smaller and smaller every year. And this is just kind of like a logistical fallacy that I don't think they explain very well, where they're like, yeah, the internet's dead because it's all bots. There's less and less people on there all the time. But that's not really true. Like, intuitively, we look at the last couple of years of COVID and everything, and more people are online than ever before. I look at fucking, like, complete boomer-ass old people in my life who have, like, no knowledge of technology, and even they're glued to their, like, phones and social media feeds, like, 24/7. Everybody's online nowadays.
The thing is, I think most people, especially on these social media sites, like my mom is on Reddit, but does she post? No. The people who constantly are posting on these things, that's a different demographic. That's a completely different demographic. A lot of people have Facebooks, and they have Reddit accounts, and they have other things, but they don't post on it constantly.
I have a Facebook like sock puppet account that's just all the names and like data on there is complete bullshit. I don't post anything there. I just have it because sometimes I'll be looking for something and it'll lead me to a Facebook link, and I don't want that stupid like, you should make an account pop up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about these statistics is, yes, the percentage of real people on the internet is getting smaller, but that's not because less people are online or because the people who were online are like leaving the internet and not using it anymore. It's just because, okay, we've plateaued. We've already got everybody online. The number of people on the internet is not going to get any bigger. There's just more bots than ever before because it takes a lot less effort to make like a dozen bots than to make, like one real person.
Well, that's the thing, and that's why these tech companies, the big ones like Google and Meta, Facebook, whatever the fuck, their whole thing now is just like, I forget what they call it. It's some gross like PR, HR, corporate fucking bullshit term for that. Just like they're like, we want to give smartphones to people in South Sudan so that they can start to consume our products, and they wrap it up in this like, we want everybody to have equity in like technology and shit. And it's like, no, you just want to like make money off of people, and you ran out of markets in the developed world. So now you're
you
looking
literally have
towards...
to develop the undeveloped world
right,
to expand anymore.
Exactly. And it's fucking dumb and like that's the thing. Just like you said, like there's nothing is really changing here, because it's kind of like we've pretty much hit the wall on all of this shit, and it's like so many people. Like the thing is, I think there is some merit to saying that there is a decline in real people using the internet, as far as you can see, because like so many people, myself included, are just like fucking done with this social media bullshit. It's just so boring, man. I'm so tired of it. Like it's so dumb. It's so pointless. I don't really want to be a part of that anymore.
Yeah, maybe there's a term for it. Maybe we can call it like the facade internet. I just pulled this out of my ass, but it's like, I think there's a valid observation to be made that there is a lot of capital C content on the internet that is like largely or entirely made by bots or not real people, made to appeal to other bots through the algorithm, and mostly consumed by other bots that like feed it clicks and stuff. And it's like you have this whole swamp full of stuff. You have like these fake cities you see in China where they'll build like entire like apartment buildings that nobody actually lives in or whatever. Like that's the entire internet, where there's more stuff than ever before, but it's completely hollow and vapid and not actually made to be enjoyed by anybody.
Yeah, and that's kind of funny. I love that idea that people are like, that companies are making bot created content that just gets consumed by other bots, and it's just like it's like an Ouroboros of shit that they're whereas it's like the lizard person is sucking his own dick a little too much, you know what I mean? Right. And I think like to kind of go onto a positive note from that shit, like it does seem very sinister and very very ridiculous, and it's kind of like, holy shit, we're fucked on that one. But I think there's kind of a silver lining to that, in the sense of we do now have the power to take a step aside from this ecosystem of a lizard man sucking his own dick, and actually start like reclaiming the internet for ourselves, and start actually like doing cool and relevant shit. And all of these advertisers and all of these tech companies and all this bullshit fucking platforms, let them suck each other off and just bleed money out until they fucking die with all of their fake bot bullshit. And then we can still be in this world making cool shit. And I think my advice towards that is, number one, the biggest thing, which I've said a million times before, stop thinking about fucking metrics. Stop thinking about metrics, because most of them, as you can see from these examples, are not even real. So if you just ignore that and it's just like, I'm going to make cool shit and hopefully people like it, that's really the only mindset you need.
If you hate metrics, leave a comment below telling us about it.
Yes. Especially if you're a bot.
Look, like we said, this is the only real show left on the internet. The rest are fake. It's just us. It's just you and me. Okay.
Yeah.
So make the best of it.
Yeah, we're gonna put this on shortwave radio pretty soon once the internet falls.
Yeah, stay tuned for our next episode, where we just become one of those like Russian number stations, and I'll read off 2-digit numbers for like an hour.
Oh man, that would be really cool.
That would be a good April Fool's bit. But now everyone did. Oh well. But yeah, Okay, so when a lot of people like opine about how the internet used to be so good and they kind of want to like return to this like tradition or something, and I'm all for it in like some ways. I think we should go back to having like our own personal websites. I think people should learn like basic coding skills to upkeep one of these things. We don't have a fucking like Squarespace sponsorship, so like fuck them, but it's easier than ever to make a website, and you can find it through a service that hopefully will sponsor us at some point. Just if you want the internet to be good again, you kind of have to put in a little bit of effort. It's never going to be as convenient as it is as using social media, right? You're not going to have a feed of stuff you constantly like that's only good things and no like annoying like clickbait like rage inducing engagement bullshit. You're going to have less stuff, but you know what, you have to seek it out, you have to make it, you have to like build the internet that you want to live in and spend time on and support good things, and just unplug from stupid bullshit, because you don't need to comment, you don't need to like and comment and subscribe or whatever. It's all dumb, it's all bullshit, and the internet isn't dead. You can just unplug from the parts of it that were never alive to begin with.
Yeah, 100%. And just like you said, like there's going to be less stuff, but the stuff that there is that the stuff that exists will be better. So hey, let's make less stuff and more good stuff. I think we could do that.
That's kind of like the big problem with the internet. There's no quality anymore. It's just quantity, and it's a fucking unlimited amount of quantity. Okay, there's never been more stuff, but it's not for you. It's not for me. It's not made by real people. And maybe we don't need to call it the dead internet theory, because like we've illustrated, it's fucking bullshit. This guy sucks. You don't need to popularize this term. I was wrong for using it in the past. But that's a mistake, and we can all correct it and build something better.
This is so funny because as we're wrapping up this episode, I just got a spam email to my business website that is trying to steal my my credentials. I'm
Are you telling me this Nigerian prince doesn't actually have like a big break that could help the show a lot?
Oh man, this is real sus. Okay.
All right, we'll look into our investments on our own time afterwards. I think that's a wrap for today. I think we've made our point. Stop. Let's just drop the dead internet theory thing. It sucks. It's stupid. We don't need to believe in this anymore.
It's one of those things where it's not really that deep. It's just it comes back to the end of the day. It's just yes, there are bad actors that are pushing slop on you to try to make a quick buck. Don't fall for it. We have the power to not engage with that shit. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. We don't need to have 30 4chan posts about that. If you're listening to this podcast, you are intelligent enough to disconnect from that bullshit.
You are the real elite internet intelligentsia, or super despair world audience.
Yes. And that's the thing. Don't stop. I don't my real takeaway with a lot of the shit that we talked about, including this one, is stop thinking that this current wave of using fucking Twitter and social media and all this type of shit is it's this necessary evil that's it's bad, but I have to do it. It's no, you don't. You don't. I don't fucking use Twitter. I haven't had a Facebook in years, and I feel fucking great right now. It just think about not doing that. It's pretty awesome. We're going back to Web 1.0, baby.
Yeah, unfollow everybody else. Follow my sock puppet on Facebook. Support good media, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Follow us, but nobody else.
I think that's a wrap. I think we can say that this myth is busted, debunked.
Hey, myth busted.
Ooh, wow. Thanks for the gold, kind stranger. Okay, good night.
All right. Good fight, good night.